Hello, and welcome to Pest in Class, expert voices in pest management. Today, we talk with Kyle Selbach, Director of Operations at All You Need Pest Control in Florida and most recently, Houston, Texas. We talked about the growing pains of starting in the pest industry, advice when looking to expand to more locations, and how sometimes you need to get uncomfortable to get successful. I'm your host, Amanda Salvatore. Let's get into it. Kyle Selbach, you are the Director of Operations at All You Need Pest Control with 10 locations in Florida and now most recently one in Houston, Texas. Today we are going to be talking about the growing pains and mistakes that lead to big success. Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, Amanda.
Of course. So, first and foremost, we like to do a little icebreaker here, a little get to know you. And your question, this is a tough one, so I hope you're prepared because it's a doozy, honestly. If you could be a character in any movie, what character and what movie would it be?
So I am not typically a movie person. If I had to give it to one character, I'd probably say James Bond from Casino Royale. The suit, the slender, just get up and get after it.
Brilliant character. And
Yeah,
also one of the only James Bond movies I've ever
yeah.
seen.
And he's
I
got
like
cool
the newer
watches.
ones.
Yeah,
And he's
he's
got the
got,
watches. Is that what you said?
yeah, yeah.
Are you
He's
really
got,
into a good timepiece?
sure am.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
Well done.
he's got him.
I love that. I was going to say for myself, not that anyone's interested, but you never know. I think the character I would like to be is Helen Hunt in Twister, but in
Okay.
reality, I'm Philip Seymour Hoffman in Twister, deep down.
Great ride at Universal. Have you been on
It's
it?
a great, it is a great ride. I don't know if it's there anymore,
I was
but
just thinking the same thing. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. I have to see what replaced it, but I did ride that as well, and it is a lot of fun. I'm a huge Twister fan, so it was a delight that I got to
Yeah,
experience it before they closed.
yeah.
So enough about storm chasing and timepieces. Let's get into it. How
Mhm.
did you find yourself in pest? And also tell us how you started with All You Need Pest Control.
Yeah, so quite a wild ride and an introduction into pest control. For starters, Fort Myers born and raised, so I decided to go to college here in Fort Myers, where I'm sitting in our headquarters right now. But I decided to go on a pre-med track with biology. Everything was going great. Towards my end, junior, senior year, I was like, all right, I'm definitely getting tired of sitting in a classroom. I'm just super antsy and whatnot. Grades were there, everything was fine. So towards the end, I was like, okay, what am I possibly going to do? I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to sit in a classroom for this much longer. I just want to finish this biology degree, get it, and let's get out of here. Let's move on with life. My mentor, my right hand man right now, Steve, the owner of the company, he's like my second father. I gave him a call. I've known him since I was 11 years old, and he's a successful business person. I was like, look, do you mind grabbing some lunch with me? So he, of course, Kyle, anything for you. So he sat me down. I was like, look, Steve, I have this fancy biology degree. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And at the time, Steve was actually retired. So he's kind of looking at me across the lunch table. I can picture it clear as day. And he's like, look, I don't know what to tell you. Me and Debbie, who's his wife, we're just living our lives. So you and Alex, who's my best friend, finishing up college, you'll find something. So I was like, all right, he gave me some tough love, get out there and just find my calling. So with that biology degree, what I was deciding to go into was medical sales. So I was like, I'm going to go sell medical devices. I'm going to get out there, find a name for myself. And I just started to apply for jobs to some pretty good brands, I have to say. I was in the interview process, 5, 6 interviews later in, massive corporate America. And I was driving. I just graduated college. I was driving. I was still a server at a restaurant at a nice steakhouse here in town, making good money for that age or whatever. And Steve called me and he's like, "Look, I'm thinking about acquiring a pest control business." And I still remember I was pulling directly into the parking lot of that restaurant, and I'm like, "You're buying what? Pest control? Like there's no way." Basically that reaction, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm going to buy a pest control company. I'm like, huh, how interesting. I know you as a banker, as real estate development, windows and siding. He's had multiple ventures. So I thought about for a little bit and I was like, all right, what am I going to really do at a pest control company? He's like, you're interested in sales, why don't you start door to door sales with us? And I said, okay, let me take a little bit to get a grip on what is actually going on. And so it was a few days later, I was talking to my parents. Mom and dad were like, look, everything Steve touches has turned into a massive success. You've seen it time over time. And this is Steve's eighth business venture. And, he says it's his final. And so I was like, look, I'm just going to take a leap. And originally we were going into it as we were going to go into a very short time. We were going to build it up. Everyone knows the multipliers are, wild out there right now. People are buying, selling pest control companies. And that was the game plan. We're going to build up to X, sell it. That's not the case at all. So I'm just going to put the record out there right now. So I went in there and I started doing door-to-door sales. We acquired this company, one location, 2 employees, and I just started door-to-door knocking, and the rest was the history from there. Worked my way up, and now we're sitting here 6.5 years later, biology student to door knocker to running the whole company.
That is incredible. I know that we had talked previously about the success, and your growth since 2017 is incredible. You now have 11 locations. You have 15 million in revenue last year, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Right. But when we talked previously, you had said that it was, quote, a disaster
Yeah.
when you guys started. So what are some examples of those growing pains? Because obviously you've weathered the storm and came out of it on top, but what is the journey?
Yeah. So, just being open and honest and, vulnerable to myself, we came in this and we were like, all right, pest control, it's going to be easy. It's, put on a backpack and just go spray some product on the outside of the house. Let's, can't be that hard, right? Looking from the outside in. Coming into it, I was like, I just need to sell a reoccurring service. It was that simple. And then it clicked on me that I needed to know what I was selling, the bugs, and what does LNO even stand for? What's a termite? And so I'm someone that likes to know what they're talking about. If it's coming out of my mouth, I want to know all the facts. So one good story that we always tell now, and it's told to everyone. So this is when it hit me hard. I was door knocking and this lady was like, oh, I think, I found this wild bug and I don't know what it is. So I came across and she had this bug in the bag. And at this point it was a mole cricket. So it's about the size of my palm that's sitting in there. And I'm like, oh, I think this is a termite. Like, it's gotta be a termite. It looks vicious. It looks like it would do some damage. So the laughing stock of the company for quite some time was that I thought a termite was a mole cricket. Fast forward now, I spent countless nights, reading about pest control and pest biology on University of Florida Extension Office. I've gone through many classes, seminars, whatever, certified operator in all the categories now. So it was taking that very naive, all we have to do is just sell spraying a product to no, we need to become the pest control experts. And if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So that was one facet of the growing pains, was learning the actual widget we were even selling and providing at that point.
Yeah, I think that I always ask the question of owners and people who are in the business, what do you wish people knew about pest control and the people who work there, the industry itself? And more often than not, everyone says something to the effect of, it's more than just spraying product. It's so much more than that. Our technicians are coming in and they have to go through a training and really know what's going on so they can actually address the problem. And it's so funny that I think that's really this huge misconception about the industry as a whole, that it is very simple, very easy. Just come here, I can do it. Or even like some people want to DIY pest control, which is very often disastrous results.
Yeah.
But it really does take a lot of nuance. So as you were growing, I know you are employee number 3. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So besides Steve and Debbie, I'm employee number 3. I've been there with the longest. with the company. Sean, who runs all of our sales, is right behind me. I think he started like 5 days after me. But yeah, been here from the very first start of the venture when Steve acquired it.
That's incredible to be able to witness the growth of a company from the get-go. I know that you said that when you hit that 20 employee range,
Hmm.
that's when it really starts to get difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that's a tipping point for a lot of people, right? Why get bigger? This is difficult to manage. So, what is it about the 20 employee range that is so difficult? And how do you navigate those ups and downs?
Yeah, we always joke about it, not joke about it, but very real. That 20 to 30 range of employees was a difficult time for us. It's the employees have to wear multiple hats. So at that stage, I transitioned from door to door to inside sales, so running the consultations and the leads, then slowly transition into operations to where I am today. And for example, at that point right there, I was running leads and consultations. And then when in between appointments, I was dealing with the everyday business to business, normal headaches that everyone has. But at that point, there is so many hats one person needs to wear, right? So is it the office manager taking all the phone calls, doing the scheduling, doing the billing, ordering the product? Is it the owner trying to set up, 401k and health benefits and, talk to different vendors and get the price? Is it the sales guy trying to rally the troops, fire up the sales team, make sure that the technicians or the service pros are coming on time? But also at that time, if any of those links are missing, it puts a massive burden on the team, right? So at 20 employees, you're probably running 8 to 9 routes. At that point, maybe that's what we were doing, depending on your sales force and your office. Every company is different. But say one out of your 8 routes can't be done. Who's going to do that route? And one of the parts of success for All You Need Pest Control is that we do what we say we're going to do. So we're a man of our word. So we never call off the routes. We never call off, a customer. So is it me that's getting in the truck? Is it Sean that's getting on the truck? Is Steve getting on the truck? Who's going to do that missing link? And that's where I think all the headaches come in. And it really divides that success of, do you want to be reputable or do you want to just get away with being, a status quo pest control company? And that's what I attribute was the start of our blossoming of our success.
You said about wearing many hats, and I would love to know what's your favorite hat to wear? When you were really in the thick
Ooh.
of it, what was the job you were like, I'll take it. I'll do that one.
I love, and it's perfect fitting for my position. I love problem solving. So this is wild to say, but the more stressed I am, the better I perform. So give me something challenging, give me something new, give me something outside the box, and that's what I'm going to excel at. And I love getting in the thick of something, of a project, and figuring out what the best solution is. That's where it is. The most fun, I do have to admit, is office sales. So taking the incoming calls of a homeowner wanting to start pest control service, the sales side still comes out of me. I love it still. I'll still
What
do
is
it every now and then.
what is it about sales that you dig so much?
I stay away from the sales department as much as I possibly can, but there's still something so satisfying of the, aha, I got that homeowner, I got that customer, we acquired them. It's overcoming those objections. And I guess that leads really back to the problem solving. You're just problem solving in a different way. I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoy it so much.
It sounds like you like a challenge.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
sounds like you you really like to buckle down and take something head on, and you
Yeah.
could see that, and also I'm sure that is one of the reasons why you guys are so successful, just
Yeah.
really being able to solve those problems and get excited about solving them instead of backing away from those issues.
Exactly.
So you have expanded. When did you start expanding locations? I'm so interested in this because you've expanded quite quickly and now you're moving to Texas. What was that process like getting more locations and kind of getting that train going?
Yeah, it was. So again, we're here in Fort Myers. That's originally where the bulk of the customers that we acquired were at. So we knew we wanted to expand further and further, and we grow our radius to X amount of minutes away from our local office, and it was time for a change or whatnot. So Sean, actually, I have to give him 100% credit. He wanted to move away from Fort Myers just a tad. So him and his wife moved to Venice, which is about an hour and 20 minutes away from us right now. It's a little further than we like them separated. But again, he was like, let's do it. So he is our director of business development and sales. He actually moved up to Venice, rented a house, brought a tech truck with him, and brought one of his sales reps with him. They started knocking together. He would service them, and then he would knock more, get more customers, and start servicing them. So we started really small when we expanded. I mean, we had no idea what we were doing. We got a small office, and that has kind of been the pinnacle of our growth. So for a while, we were just connecting dots, right? So we connected Fort Myers to Bonita Springs, Port Charlotte to Venice, Venice to Tampa. And it was about a year and a half, coming up on 2 years, really. It is 2 years that we moved to Jacksonville. So that's complete polar opposite side of Florida for us. It's probably the most difficult office, more difficult than Houston to get to because you can't take a plane from Fort Myers there. So that was a whole new concept to us, right? So each office can rely on each other for backup and help. Jacksonville was really setting us apart. And what are we going to do when we need help? Like, I'll be there in 6 hours. I'll see what I can do. That was a big challenge we had. But the expansion really started to, as our growth went, we opened offices more and more frequently. And that's the start of it.
When you are expanding, you're getting more locations. What are some of the challenges that come when you have multiple plates spinning in the air like you do?
That's a tough one. So there's a lot of moving parts quickly. I'm going to take that, Amanda, and use that. A lot of plates spinning at once. That's a good one. So the office openings is a lot of logistics being put together really quickly, whether that's literally finding the location, moving vehicles out to it. We transfer all of our employees there to continue our company culture and make sure that they are moving, that culture with us. But once that office is open and it's moving and grooving, we have the proper sales and service managers in place for that office to become successful. So it's really setting the chessboard up right for them, and they know what we're looking for, and we're just there for guidance thereafter.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, really just trying to keep consistent and
Yes.
keeping your processes in line and consistent, I think, is a huge key into making sure that not only is the process being consistent, but also the service is being consistent.
Yeah. The
And
opening the
speaking of,
offices, it's really like consistent, like you said, the process. I mean, it's an Excel file of what do we need to order, what needs to be there, Amazon order everything, and our vendor, shout out to Site One, they load everything up. They're there, everything's there. It's really has become a plug and play situation.
excellent. What would be your advice to an owner who is listening right now, who they have hit their stride? They feel good. They're ready to expand to more locations. What would be your advice for looking for locations and how to make that transition?
The first thing I would say is buckle in, right? It's not as easy as it seems to be. There's a lot of plates spinning at once. It looks easy to do, right? So, all I have to do is just sign a lease for this office and it's there, right? No, it's getting the employees there, getting that labor. Is those labor and those service people going to like the new area you're moving them to? What's the clientele there? Did I do, the proper data research and market research? Is my business model going to work in this demographic? Is my marketing, that's super important. Is my marketing technique going to work there? Some places door to door doesn't work. Some places internet marketing isn't that well. So you have to find that balance and really think of every single section of how your business is going to work.
To pivot off of this, I'm very interested because you would think that your marketing campaign door to door would work anywhere. So how do you make those decisions? Like, what goes into that? I know you said research, but can you dive in a little bit deeper?
Yeah. So, Sean, that's really his side of things. He does a lot of research, whether it comes to what our demographic is. We personally, again, it's going back to everyone's business model. We have our ideal customer in mind. So we have that form, and I actually got that from one of the best seminars I've ever seen was Chip Wilson, the founder of Lululemon. He was talking about when they were creating Lululemon, what was their ideal clientele, and it was a middle-aged 30-year-old living in New York City, single lady, wanted to feel hip and trendy, right? Then they opened up the man's side of things, and it was an older dad that wanted to look hip and trendy, right? So they have these models and these people they want to go after, and that's something we've developed here at All You Need. And it's a residential pest control. We're trying to go after that reoccurring. We're not big in a commercial. So it's finding that market and that demographic that's going to fit our specific mold to that.
You know what? I'm so new to all this stuff, and that to me is so cool to think like, I guess I come from the world of entertainment, and it's very similar, oddly
Yeah.
enough, where you think, who is my audience? Who's going to be watching this show, and how do I cater the show to that? So it's very similar, and yeah, I think it's super interesting to have to look at a location and see if this is the right place for you. When we talked previously, you said something and it has stuck with me up until this point, and I think I'm obsessed with it. You said, get uncomfortable to get successful. And
Yeah.
now I have embroidered a pillow. It's on my couch. I made a poster. There's a cat. Like it's everywhere in my life because I really agree with this philosophy. Can
Yeah.
you dive in a little bit more as to why you feel this way?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite lines, and I do have to attribute it to Steve, again, the owner, biggest mentor. He's instilled this into pretty much everyone he's been around, and it's the one thing that's always just it's ingrained in me. So the more uncomfortable you get, the more successful you are. The moment you get comfortable, you become complacent, unsuccessful. So I try to instill this into everyone. My wife, I get the look when I tell her, "Oh, you're just going to be more successful. Get after that job promotion." And she'll come back and be like, "Thank you. You made me uncomfortable and it paid off. Now I'm X, Y, and Z, and I get this." So I feel that in everything I do. And if it's a task that I know I can't do or I'm having trouble with, I think about that quote over and over. And it sounds really cliche, but something that we're doing here in the business right now, it's a new thing. We've never done it. I'll take it head first on. I get uneasy. I feel like I'm going to mess up, but I know it's just a moment in time. And at the end of it, and when it becomes successful, or I two thumbs up, I did whatever was making me uncomfortable, it's going to make me a better person. And I think about that constantly. If it's going to a networking event and I don't know anyone in the room, right? I have to walk in there. Hi, I'm Kyle, right? No one really likes that. So down deep, I'm like, okay, this is super uncomfortable, but I know it's bettering myself. And again, I wish everyone could listen to it and hear it. The more uncomfortable you get, the more successful you'll be.
What would
So.
be your advice to anyone who feels this way of really diving in? Is there anything you kind of tap into that helps you over that hurdle other than just being like, I'm gonna hunker down and do it? Or is there anything that you would advise somebody who's uncomfortable about doing something like that?
Yeah, it's a mindset to have, and it's really staying true to yourself. And once you learn that trigger in your head of, "Ooh, I'm uncomfortable," I feel like if you can acknowledge that for a few milliseconds and keep chugging along, it'll pay off. And I think the example I used with you when we previously talked was the hotel situation. This drives my wife insane. But when I go to a hotel, I'll just look at the check-in gal or guy right in the eye, and I'm like, "Do you have an upgrade?" And she gets so uneasy, and I'm just asking, right? It's a very uncomfortable question to ask, but most of the time they're like, "Yeah, we'll see what we can do, Mr. Selbach," and it pays off. Or "Hey, can I get this or can I do that?" or whatever it may be, right? It's a super uncomfortable, but it pays off. It's a really quick success, and there's so many examples. I can go on and on from business to personal. It just betters you as an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, that sounds like a nightmare asking for an upgrade for me personally. I'm always like, "Oh, thank you for just, like, having my bed ready. Thank you." But it's
Yeah,
operating from a place almost like of apologizing as opposed to a, "What's the worst they can say? No?"
yeah,
It's
that's it.
not, it and also, I think that being uncomfortable is a tell to something else, right? Same as anger. You're not just angry. It really comes down to either you're not feeling supported or you're frustrated about something. You're not getting what you need, right? And I
Mhm.
think that being uncomfortable is a similar emotion that is indicating something to you. So acknowledging it and
Yeah,
just saying, "You know what? This is just a feeling. It's gonna once I step into this room and introduce myself a few times, it'll subside." And just even
yeah,
knowing that, like, it's only temporary
yeah,
is really beneficial of just being able to move past it and move forward.
yeah. And you hit it right on the head. It's really just a feeling. And a long time ago, a few years ago, you had anxiety, right? And it's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. And if you acknowledge that and let it go, it goes
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, you just ride
It,
out the wave. It doesn't have to become
exactly.
a part of you. This
Yeah,
as
exactly.
I'm saying from years of therapy being like, "Yeah, I had
Right?
anxiety too," and I still do, like, it's something that you struggle with all the time in different varying ways and depending on how stressed you are.
Yeah,
So really just being able to step out of your comfort zone, and something they say in improv is follow the fear and just,
yeah.
like, go for it. Just be like,
Own
"Great,
it.
just yeah, just go for it." Everyone feels this way. So,
Yeah,
it's nothing new to you. It's nothing
exactly.
that makes you different or wrong in any way. So, yeah, a little therapy today. Look at us
There you go.
go. It
There you
turned
go.
into a therapy podcast. I'm thrilled.
Yeah,
Change
you,
it up
you need it
just a
every
little
now and
bit.
then. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just Brené Brown now. It's
There you
official.
go.
We're talking it's March right now, so we're a little bit into 2024. But what are your goals for this year? And what are you excited about coming up?
Yeah, so the goals coming up, I mean, there's so much. So we're continuing this exponential growth pattern that we're on. We're opening offices, we're growing. We're currently looking for a new headquarters. So in the business, there really is just so many different facets we're working on. The leadership team, we sit down, once a quarter. We're always building bigger and bigger projects. We just currently did that actually yesterday was our quarterly meeting. So it's always just trying to build and become bigger and bigger, better and better.
I love that. Can you share any financial goals that you have for the company? Is that too much to
Yeah,
ask?
yeah. So
Okay.
one of them is going to be published and whatnot, so that's fine. We are striving to hit 23 million in revenue this year. So we finished last year around that 14.8 million range, just shy of 15 million. We're not quite doubling per se, so we had to slow and control our growth a little bit down, but we're hoping to hit that, somewhere around that middle low 20 range this year.
I have no doubt that that's gonna happen for you guys. It sounds like it is a well-oiled machine and it is on its way.
Yeah, yep. There's so many different the well-oiled machine. There's so many different departments that are moving along that understand the goals, where we need to be, whether it's from service, making sure we have enough people on hand to handle the sales department. They know exactly how many sales they need to crank out on a monthly, weekly basis, whatever it be. And the CSR department, just killing it, taking all the customer phone calls and handling all of that everyday business. So everyone knows their seat and everyone knows what we have to do to obtain those goals going forward.
So cool. So cool. What would be your advice, or what would you say to yourself back in 2017 when you were learning all of this new information, all of these bugs, all of these products, all this whole system? What would you say to yourself?
Wow, what would I say to 2017 or 2017 Kyle? Just sit back and take it all in. Slow down. It's going to be okay. And just embrace the ride. I think there was, with a fast growing company, there is obviously a lot of stressors that come about, but really stop every once in a while and embrace it. I'd say sometimes the flaw of being inside the business, sometimes it's hard for me to witness the growth. As wild as that sounds, I'm chugging along day by day, and people are like, "Oh, you guys are crushing it, killing it, good job, you're growing." And I'm just like, "Sure, I guess." It's something I'm used to. And it took me about a few years ago, or probably around 2021, what really clicked in me was when we started buying mass amounts of vehicles. So when the tractor trailer would come up, I'd see it outside, and I'd be like, "Wow, there's a lot of vehicles on there. We must be really, truly growing this big." And so there's moments where I just need to stop, embrace what we're doing, celebrate what we're doing, and then continue to go forward.
I love that. I think that's great advice for anybody. It's
Yeah,
really about taking those moments because it'll fly by. It's hard to celebrate those successes when you're in the thick of it. It's really
yeah,
hard to like step back and take that moment and really soak it in. And very often, yeah, like you said, it flies by. So I hope that for 2024, you are able to find moments to sit back,
yeah.
relax, and enjoy your success.
I got to give it, moments like this is when it's really, really cool. Like when you can step out of the business and just work on the business and, talk about the business. That's when you're like, wow, this is really cool that I get to do X, Y, and Z, or, take this trip and go do that, or see us somewhere. So it's just those small tokens to really embrace it.
Absolutely. Kyle, thank you so much for talking with us today. I have one more question for you, and then we're
Yes.
going to let you get back to it. We brought it up a little bit earlier, but I would love to hear your take on this question. What do you wish people who are not in pest, what do you wish they knew about the industry and also the people who work there?
Oh, that's a good one. So it's not what you think it is inside. The people within the industry are some of the most amazing people I've met in my life, really. Everyone going into it, I thought, oh, this is a dog eat dog world, right? We're all against each other. I've met some really good acquaintances in this business, people that their offices are literally 5 minutes away from me. I'll go meet them, have coffee or whatever it may be. And whether it's from competitors just talking about everyday life to kids to family, whether it's talking about how to scale their business, whether it's talking about how to treat a certain pest, everyone in this business jives really, really well. And, I'm involved in Florida Pest Management Association. I sit on the board. So, there's a lot of different things I go around, in the state. And, you know, I cover a good footprint in the state of Florida, and everyone just, I'd like to think welcomes me and, talks to me, and we have a good time and whatnot. So it's really, don't be scared of the industry. Everyone has their place. There's enough bugs out in the world for everyone to treat. So just, maybe other PCOs don't agree with me, but we welcome you with open arms.
I love that. It sounds like a really wonderful community that you surround yourself with.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kyle Selbach, for coming onto the podcast. And I hope everyone enjoyed the interview as much as I did.
Yes, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you and everyone from Field Routes and all of that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.